The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you with the help of our sponsor, Aweber, the world's leading small business email marketing and automation service provider. Since 1998, Aweber has helped more than 1 million small businesses and entrepreneurs through its suite of web-based email marketing, automation tools, and education. Aweber, the best option when it comes to marketing your business. The podcast is also brought to you by the Alternative Board. Since 1989, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has been one of the leading peer advisory and business coaching organizations for independent business owners and CEOs across the world. By facilitating peer advisory boards, private one-on-one coaching, and strategic planning services, TAB helps business owners improve their businesses in ways that change their lives. And be sure to connect with our affiliate sponsor, GSM Growth Agency. They're boosting e-commerce businesses to 6 and 7 figures in revenue and cover everything from ads and social media influencers to making your website better. GSM Growth Agency focuses on taking businesses from startup success to bigger success, going above and beyond to make sure growth sticks around. They're all about cool ideas, lasting partnerships, and making your mark in the e-commerce world. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
Well, it all started my last year of college. So my senior year of college, that's a rough year.
Yeah.
You're like,
figuring your life out.
Okay.
And you're like, oh my God, I got to go out in the real world and like pay bills. Adulting, they call it.
It's scary. I hate the word adulting, but it's daunting. That year of my life, 7 people died in my life.
Kidding.
So, and they were not all, okay, there's like heart attack, cancer, that happens. Right? That's life. Yeah. My roommate's boyfriend dropped dead at 25. They still never found out what happened. One of my mom's sisters walked out of work and in the parking lot was hit by a car. Jesus. My dad's sister and her husband died in a plane crash. It was a year. 1 year. Oh my God. So it was a year of tragedy. And I was very aware of all like the hard things in life entering the working world. I thought, this is terrible. There must be so much purpose that you get from your job. I was really focused. Right. Like some people think about like finding the one quotes. I was thinking about the one is in my career, the job that makes it all.
And what was the job?
So I went the nonprofit route first. I spent a year with the American Red Cross in Seattle.
Yeah, that's very disillusioning, I think.
And then I learned that a lot of people were doing very important things, but a lot of people were unhappy. And if you ask people why, it was all money. So I thought money makes life better. So then I found a job in the corporate world. Moved to Chicago then, and I spent a year in corporate. And I felt what we all feel, that you kind of look around and you feel like a lot of people are waiting all day for 5 p.m., all week for the weekend, all year for vacation. Yeah. And I was talking to the secretary at my job in Chicago once, and she said, how sad is it that we are wishing away our lives?
Yeah. Okay. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm very excited to talk to Kayla in a few minutes. She got a book coming out called How to Be a Digital Nomad. I didn't even know what a digital nomad was till I met her. So if you're listening on your favorite directory, please be sure to leave us a 5-star review whenever you can. If you're watching us on YouTube, like us, subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing great guests like we have with Kayla today. So let's get on with today's show.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode.
Hi, I'm Kayla Ihrig, the author of How to Be a Digital Nomad, Build a Successful Career While Traveling the World.
All right, Kayla. So thanks for joining me. I think Well, today's going to be an interesting conversation. You got a book coming out on January 30th, How to Be a Digital Nomad. We're going to talk about that in the second half. We'll spend the first step talking about you and your background. But I think, more and more I'm getting guests on the show who are, they're not necessarily wandering around the world like you are. We're going to talk about that. But they're working remotely. They decided they want to live in Costa Rica and they can run their company from there. And they have people all over the world that we're working with them. I have a cousin who's in a program where she can just work as long as she has a remote job, right? She just goes to the next place they go. She's been in Turkey. She's been in Africa. She's been in South America. She's home right now. Then she'll go out to, New Zealand, Australia. She's been all over the place. And there's more and more of these programs and opportunities. I even met, and I'm talking too much. I should bring you on in a second. You can talk. Your mic's on. I even met two guys. I don't think they've been on the show yet, who are working on a real estate company where you can rent an apartment, but in a consortium, you know what I mean? So you can stay in Texas. I think it's only the United States right now, but you can stay in Texas for a month and then you can work in Nashville for another month and you're on the same lease. So I think you're seeing more of that. But why don't you introduce yourself? Kayla, great to have you on the show. Let's talk about you and your background and stuff.
Thanks so much for having me, Mitch. Yeah, I am in Croatia at the moment, originally from Pennsylvania in the U.S., and I went abroad in 2017. I left the corporate world and was I heard about these weird people called digital nomads. I saw people on Instagram doing something that I thought looked so it really called to me. Right. And I thought, if they're doing that, I could probably do it too, I guess. Why not? Now, how hard can it be? If you can find work online, then you can go wherever you want to go with that. As we all saw in 2020, it's actually not as difficult as a lot of people perceive that to be.
Right. Well, yeah, but not traveling. We're going to get into this. People are thinking well, how do I pay my bills? What do I do for, how do I stay connected to the world? You always have a home base where you go and you go back and you check your undo. So we're going to talk about that because you don't really have a home base. You kind of don't, right?
No, I don't have an apartment. I haven't had an apartment in 8 months. Right. I live out of Airbnb or stay with family for periods as well. I visit family for I go home to Pennsylvania for a month out of the year and spend time with family there. But yeah, I'm the extreme end though. Right. I would say I'm on the extreme end. I don't have stuff. I have 2 backpacks that I carry with me, and there's a whole spectrum. There's people, if you have enough money, you can leave your whole house the way it is and come back to it whenever you want. Your plants will die. Right. That's pretty much it.
You can have somebody come in and water your plants and check your mail, and you can do that too, right? But but at our stage of the game and your stage of the game, it's a little bit harder to do that, right? You can't really, you got a mortgage, you make your mortgage. I guess so. And you're married, right?
I'm married. Yeah, I do this with my husband.
Right. So it's not like you're single wandering the world. You can do this with a cooperative spouse, I guess, right? You need to have a cooperative spouse. And
yes. You shouldn't talk somebody into this if it's not for them. Right. If a vacation is a big deal, I've actually gotten this question quite a bit recently. Yeah. Well, my partner doesn't even want to take a vacation, but I want to do this. And I feel like, do not talk them. Do not try to shove them into this lifestyle. Right? It's not good. Yeah, because you're kind of putting all your eggs in the same basket whenever you are spending all of your time with someone, and especially if you run your business together, as we do. We run our business together. So you have your marriage, your day-to-day life, your business. It's all one. And also you don't have other things around you. It's not like, I need a break. I'm going to go blow off steam with my friends at the bar we always go to, because you don't have those those comforts of home. And, but people do it with kids. People do it alone. I started doing this alone. I was solo. And then there are people who do it with kids. You mentioned the real estate thing about having one lease in different locations. They even have schools that are identical in different parts of the world where you can go and uproot. That way your kids are always in the same environment. They are doing cyber school and they're always going to the same looking classroom. It's set up exactly the same. I actually don't remember the name of the program, but there's a lot of people who've been doing this for a while.
There's a place for the kids to go, but it's part of the same network of schools.
Exactly. It's like a co-working for kids. It's like co-working space,
Really?
but it's a school. Yeah, it looks like a school, and then the kids go there, and they can go and have, and you go to a different country, and now they're going into the same classroom, though. It's decorated the same. There's that routine for them.
Right.
And a lot of people with kids slow down as well, and they'll do like 2 years in a place,
Right.
and then 2 years again, and 2 years. And there's a lot of people doing that, and they're not nomadic, air quotes, because a lot of those people work for schools. I've met a lot of people with families who do this, where they are teachers and they work internationally. There's a lot of money. If you're a native English speaker, especially with the US or Canadian passport, there's a lot of money.
Really? Yeah, because they want
to be had teaching English abroad. Some places really like the quote American accents. I'm not sure where you're.
I'm from New York.
Your face said it all.
New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, your face said it all. No, but there's a certain, I don't know. But if you're a native English speaker, you can find work abroad. It pays very well. It's very lucrative.
You're talking not virtually, like you're going there.
Yeah, you're gonna go. You're gonna go get a job teaching English in China, and you're gonna live there. You're gonna be paid very well, and your qualification is a bachelor's degree and being a native English speaker.
Do you have to speak Chinese?
No.
And
It's
you
immersion.
put your kids in international school or whatever?
Yeah. International schools they're everywhere,
Wow.
and they are often very well funded.
Yeah. Wow.
They're super nice schools.
I just went the traditional route. I met my wife. We didn't meet till we were close to 30, but now we got 3 kids. The youngest is 18. So, and we got a lot of stuff. Like we're going to get into that. But like my son came back from Indianapolis. He has a remote job too. He's in tech. So he can really live anywhere and whatever. So he came home for a while to figure things out. And we had to rent a storage facility. I mean, he's got his stuff and our stuff. And, we got things in bins and all kinds of, I wouldn't even know. I guess we'd put it in storage and pay the fee and leave it there and then come back at some point. It just seems very daunting. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about what did you do? I mean, you're young, so I don't know how long your career was in corporate, but what did you do then?
A year.
It was a year. That's all it took.
Yeah. I'm 30 now, but I was 24 whenever I left. Yeah, so I spent 1 year working.
Make it a year, and you're like, I can't even deal with this. I want to have a life that I control. So, what was I want to know about your thought pattern, because you didn't grow up in some crazy place, just kind of near here. You're in Pennsylvania, right? So, what happened where you're like, I got to get out of here?
Well, it all started my last year of college. Okay. So my senior year of college, that's a rough year.
Yeah.
You're
figuring your life out. Okay. And you're like, oh my God, I got to go out in the real world and pay bills. Adulting, they call it.
It's scary. I hate the word adulting, but it's daunting. That year of my life, 7 people died in my life. Kidding. So, and they were not all, there's heart attack, cancer, that happens. Right. That's life. Yeah. My roommate's boyfriend dropped dead at 25. They still never found out what happened. One of my mom's sisters walked out of work in the parking lot, was hit by a car. Jesus. My dad's sister and her husband died in a plane crash. It was a year. 1 year.
Oh my God.
So it was a year of tragedy. And I had I was very aware of all the hard things in life. Entering the working world, I thought, this is terrible. There must be so much purpose that you get from your job. I was really focused. Right. Some people think about finding the one, quotes. I was thinking about the one is in my career, the job that makes it all.
And what was the job?
So I went the nonprofit route first. I spent a year with the American Red Cross in Seattle.
Yeah, that's very disillusioning, I think.
And then I learned that a lot of people were doing very important things, but a lot of people were unhappy. And if you ask people why, it was all money. So I thought money makes life better. So then I found a job in the corporate world. Moved to Chicago then, and I spent a year in corporate, and I felt what we all feel, that you kind of look around and you feel like a lot of people are waiting all day for 5 p.m., all week for the weekend, all year for vacation. And I was talking to the secretary at my job in Chicago once, and she said, how sad is it that we are wishing away our lives?
Yeah.
And I thought,
I don't want to do that.
Didn't I learn this from my Aunt Jane, who counted down until her retirement for 500 days? She was counting down, and then she got hit by a car one day leaving work and never got to reach that.
And what were you doing?
I was really scared.
I mean, you were young. You just came out of school. So what was the job in Chicago?
In Chicago, I was doing marketing. Okay. So I was doing it was mostly graphic design. Yeah, my title was marketing coordinator, and I was a communications coordinator for the Red Cross. Oh. So those skills translate easily to the digital world. So I thought, wow, there's no reason not to. And I kept talking to people about this. I'm like, don't you feel like life is supposed to be fun, like more enjoyable than waiting
for the next? You don't understand. Life is hard. That's the way life is supposed to be.
Actually, I probably asked like 20 or 30 people. I was investigating, and I was told life ought to be fun, but it's just not. And you will get used to it. Don't worry. You are young. You're so green. I kept hearing that word green. I'm like, you're saying this. Like, to me, everyone's like, quote, comforting me with this worst case scenario.
You'll become numb, Kayla, and you won't know what's going on in life either. And you'll wander around like a zombie, and you won't be satisfied, but you won't know any better, so it's fine. You'll get used to it.
No. And if you love your job, it's so worth it for you.
Most people don't.
A lot of people don't. Somebody asked me at that job that it was an architecture firm, and they said, what do you love most about architecture? And it was the end of a long day. And I was more honest than I probably should have been, because I was only at that job for like 2 months. And I said, I don't even like architecture.
Architecture's tough. It's a very difficult field.
And it's so technical. Yeah. Anyway, it was just not for me. I mean, I liked the task. I did graphic design all day. I was happy as could be. I sat there listening to musicals in my headphones, just having a good time. And I could have stayed there for a long time, but I was afraid of becoming what I saw too often. It wasn't just like those colleagues or, it was just, you look around, you see it everywhere.
Right. Everywhere. But do you think that the tragedies and the things you faced in such a short period of time, at such a young age, really kind of opened your eyes up to something that might have taken you 10 years to really look around?
100%.
Right? Yeah.
I know my life is better for having experience. I could have experienced 7 deaths in 7 years, and I know my life is better because I experienced them all in 1 year. And at a very pivotal point where every day I'm thinking, gosh, a year from now I'm going to be working. Where am I going to be? What am I going to be doing? Who am I going to become? Right. I don't know. It was terrible, but it impacted me in the long term. It was a very positive thing.
But you were kind of in a position where you could make the change. Like, you didn't have, you weren't married with kids and all kinds of things, where you're rooted in a community where I'm not saying you can't do it. People do it. It's just difficult. Yeah. It becomes more difficult. Like, look, I'm 57 years old. I like being an attorney, but I've built my practice around the way I want to practice. I don't want to be working in big corporate and do all this kind of stuff. So I have a virtual practice, whatever. But I don't think I could do that. Like, I can't practice law remotely. If I was like a patent attorney, I could. But I can't. I have a bar admission in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. I could practice here. It'd be really hard for me to be in Croatia and handling people's legal issues remotely while they're in New Jersey. They wouldn't even hire me. So I'd have to, I don't know, maybe teach English as a second language. I don't know. I'd have to do something, seriously change what I'm doing.
Yeah, you might have to pivot. And the thing is, though, you're not unhappy enough. And not that you have to be unhappy enough. You can also just say, this is good, but I am interested in this other thing. You don't have to be miserable or have a near-death experience to justify a grandiose change. But you could pivot if you had to. And if you wanted to, that was calling to you. You could also batch your work for half the year. I'm not sure how your specific business model works, but you could work half the year or take half off, work a month on a month, off a month. You could. Well, no, okay. If you have to be in the state,
it's hard. It's hard. You can't really, It's difficult for me. Kind of trapped a little bit. The law is weird that way. So, and I don't know if I would want to change. I don't know what the hell I would do. I really don't know what I would do. I really don't.
You could teach English to little kids in another country.
That I have a lot of patience for. Yeah.
I've actually met several people recently who were in their late 50s and they moved to Mexico to teach English because they were just done. I met 2 couples recently and whenever I was in Mexico, I met these 2 American couples and they were both, kind of like in that, almost like pre-retirement phase. And they said, I just can't count down 10 years until I retire. I can't do it. And they had that same kind of, our careers can't move, but we are done. So they went to Mexico and found teaching work and have been there for years. Both of these couples have been there for years.
But they're not like English majors. They don't have a degree in English.
No, but if you're a native speaker and you have a bachelor's degree, those are the big qualifications.
That's it.
Even without a bachelor's degree, you can get something called a TEFL, teaching English as a second language. That's a certification. It's not very expensive to get.
That's all I want.
Then you can even,
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So take me along the path. So you are, you're like, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do, but you probably didn't know, like you didn't have a book to read called How to Be a Digital Nomad. Right.
No.
It was a different world.
Podcasts were a big part of it, honestly. And I was talking to people online. I would join these Facebook groups for women who travel, and I didn't have international travel experience. I found it all really intimidating and quite terrifying. Yeah. So I was posting, hey, I really want to travel. I'm 23, 24. I'm desperate to do this, but I'm so scared. And I just kept hearing the exact same words over and over again. Nobody regrets traveling. Go figure it out. If you don't know what you're doing, figure it out whenever you get there. And I was almost annoyed by this advice because I'm someone who likes a guidebook. Like the book that I would have loved to have read a step-by-step. Here's 10 chapters on how to do this. I would have eaten that up at the time. But we do things all the time that we don't know how to do. Yeah. If anyone goes to went to college, you are already a bigger adrenaline junkie than a digital. Like you have it in you. You had no guarantees. You went all in on something expensive and risky because you have no idea if you're going to make money or find a job or what the world's going to be like, or if your job's going to be replaced by AI in a year. Right. And if you became a parent, you have done harder things with less information. Oh, for sure. It's true. It's baptism by fire. And travel's the same way. They push you out of the hospital in 48 hours and good luck. Nothing. And you're not qualified. No one's qualified to be a parent. Way. You don't, but it's going to happen one way or another. Yeah, right. Exactly. It's a good thing though. It's a blessing because if you had to sit there and teeter on the edge of these big decisions, of every big decision in life. No way. So you guys don't have kids yet, right? You're not at this point. No. So you're going to give birth in Budapest, and then you're going to raise the kid in some other country. Actually, probably he or she would be a very worldly individual. Well, there's a lot of people doing this, raising their kids around the world. And there's a lot of different philosophies, and we talk about it. We're not sure. We're kind of either way. I was a nanny, so I know what it's like to be around kids all day. And I also know that I can't do in another country. In the U.S. and abroad, yeah. Okay. So that was not a very glamorous chapter, having to be a nanny again at 27 because I'm 26. Well, okay, so let's get into that. So people are thinking, this is an entrepreneur's podcast, right? So you have to make a living. There are some careers that lend themselves to be able to do this, but not a lot. There'll be more, I think, over time. But you're you said, if you're in digital marketing or things like that, you probably could just pick up and plug in from wherever you are, but you did not have that, right? So how did you make a living on the road? What? I started freelance writing. I found a regular freelance writing gig. It was Monday to Friday. Okay. And I thought if I just did the math, you think about how much money your life costs. And I went to Mexico first. So I crunched those numbers. How much does life in Mexico cost for a week? And how much money is coming in every week, and how much do I want to save? And I just thought, well, I need to decrease outgoing money as much as possible to balance the slow incoming money. And I did something called a work exchange in the beginning, where you volunteer your time and you get something in exchange instead of money. Instead of getting paid money, I was allowed to stay in a hostel for free. So I did that at first in Mexico, and I saved, quite a bit of money. And a lot of people do that. You can do house sitting. That's the most popular form of work exchange. Trusted house sitters. You can stay in people's homes for free. These are nice homes too. Very nice. Way nicer than you can get. Yeah. You can sign up and get certified and whatever, or background check. Yeah. You sign up and you apply to different listings, and people will say, oh, I'm going away. I need someone to watch my cat for a month, while I'm gone. And there are a lot of people who have the people in the upper class who have multiple homes. A lot of people leave their pets in one of those homes and have people watch them. Sometimes for 6 months out of the year, really? They have somebody stay. Yeah. So these are really nice homes often, and you stay for free, but you're almost always taking care of pets. Okay. But that's housing. So you got to eat too. That's housing. Yep. So you need but entrepreneurs will have their income coming in. And if you have savings, and also if you go to cheaper countries where, let's say you're making US dollar, but then you're going somewhere where the currency is not, it's like Mexico. You can geo arbitrate like Mexico. Mexico's actually become a lot more expensive. Vietnam's the cheapest place in the world. Cost of living. Yeah. Huh. It's also one of the nicest. Yeah. It's Vietnam's if you want to fall down a rabbit hole. Vietnam, Thailand, that whole area. Yeah, Southeast Asia in particular. It's a favorite for a reason. They say Bangkok is the digital nomad capital of the world. Yeah, I haven't been there yet, so I'm not sure, but that's You're writing the book. How could you not have been there? I did feel that way a little bit. I don't tell you where to go. I help you figure out where you want to go. So.
Okay, but you're not a journalism major, right? You're freelance writing.
I actually did study journalism. That's my university degree.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that helps because people are thinking, I could write a book, but it's not that hard, easy.
I don't know. If you have a good editor, that helps, but you need to like it. So I write now. I write what I do most days. I pump out tens of thousands of words for clients.
Websites and things like.
Yeah. I write for HubSpot and GoDaddy. I do ghostwriting for clients. I write for my own website. So writing a book, I had that muscle built. Right. I was used to writing a lot. It was hard. It needed a lot of work. It was not easy. It took a lot of thinking. But normally I sit down, I just can crunch out 2,000 words pretty easily. And the book was different than that because I had to sit and think for a really long time. Yeah, a lot more planning.
Right. But that's your business now. It's you do freelance writing. Yeah. You're a freelance writer. You work for clients. You have, So how do you find these gigs? Are they posted?
No, never. It's usually referrals.
Okay.
And networking, through LinkedIn. I am pretty active on LinkedIn. That's how I got my book deal. Okay. I'm a big LinkedIn fan.
I want people to know that you're not writing a book and then selling the book. You got a book deal. The company
they offered
you
me
to write this book.
Yeah, they pitched to me to write the book.
Like a huge advance, right? That's what they do on TV.
No, that did not happen. My contract prohibits me from being specific, but it was not a huge advance.
Right.
But it was kind of a dream process. I got just a DM on LinkedIn one day. And how many people get spammy DMs on a daily basis? Everyone. Right. And I was like, no, I didn't even respond for 3 weeks. I thought it was somebody trying to sell me something. And here was a publishing house who I should have read it more closely. I was in Portugal at the time and I was I got a glimpse of it and I was like, somebody's selling me something. And I kind of forgot about it.
Somebody had given your name to somebody and then.
They found my writing on LinkedIn because I was sharing little snippets of the lifestyle because it's a very over-glamorized thing. And it's so weird because in 2017, whenever I started, people were like, what? It's so weird, bizarre, so risky. Isn't it dangerous there? I'm like, I didn't even tell you where I'm going and you assume I'm going to get murdered there. Yeah. FYI, it's usually statistically safer than the US.
Sure. I hear these stories, but they're very rare.
Yes, very rare. And it's funny because the digital nomad lifestyle goes back to 1983. That's whenever the first digital nomad set sails.
It was really hard to do in 1983.
Yeah, no internet, no home internet. He used the Radio Shack 1000 computer. It was the first portable computer, and he used an acoustic coupler, which is something that you would take a payphone, the receiver,
and then the little suction cups.
Suction cups. Okay. Do people know about that? Okay. This was new to me.
We used to, when I was young, because you're a lot younger than me, we used to have this thing called a deck writer. So you would call whatever company you want to connect with. You'd take the phone, which we don't even have phones like this anymore, right? With the little speaker and and you'd stick it in the back and then it would start communicating with the thing and it would just print out some stuff. So that's what he was using.
Acoustic coupler. Yeah. The Radio Shack 1000. His name's Stephen K. Roberts. Okay. I interviewed him for my book. He was delightful to talk to. Yeah. He said that he was, he said that he was just, he was trying to construct a life exclusively out of passions. And he rode his bike around the US for 10 years, living out of a tent, solar panels, computer. He even built the keyboard into the handlebars. Really? So he's amazing. He has I think he has 7 of his own books. He's a technology writer. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But you're not doing that, right? You're not connecting your keyboard to your bike and you're going to live in tents everywhere. No. Have you lived in tents at some point? Did you ever live in?
I've temporarily. Yeah. Marianne and I had one disastrous hiking, 2 disastrous hiking experiences, actually. One, we went out on the AT, the Appalachian Trail. Yeah. We're going to do a week. In the first night, a bear ate all of our food.
I was going to say that's where you could die. You could get lost off the trail by miles and then just die in the woods,
Yeah. I could have had, or the bear. I was sitting there in the tent, hearing it.
Really?
Eating all my food. Yeah. And Marianne's snoring peacefully. I was so bitter, but I didn't wake him up. I can hear it eating. And then we come out, there's Pop-Tart wrappers on the tree. We spent an hour cleaning up after this bear. So then we went to the road, because, well, we couldn't keep going. We didn't have any food. Well, we did go for one more night. Some people gave us food. We camped again, and we thought, what are we doing? We have no food left. Okay. So we went to the road, and we went to hitchhike a ride into town. And this guy, his name was Charlie, in his RV, this retired man, and he picked us up, and he said, well, I'm going to a bluegrass festival in Galax. Do you guys want to come? And we were like, well, where the heck are we going anyway? Like, we don't even know. So we went with him to a bluegrass festival and spent a few days. Some of the most fun I've had in my life.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And actually, hitchhiking is how it always ends. For us, camping always ends in hitchhiking back to civilization. We did the same thing in France. We went because there's also a pilgrimage trail.
Ends, though, with hitchhiking?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we didn't hitchhike.
50s where everybody used to hitchhike. Now it's kind of different, you know?
And we're tall too. We're kind of intimidating. I'm 6 feet tall. My husband's 6'4". We are not like small, but we're really nice. So, you know, like people are always like, oh, you're such a nice girl. You know, I look very, and I am nice. It's true. But it's just funny because he picked us up and Charlie, I mean, he was retired and he's driving and he's like, I haven't picked up a hitchhiker in years. It's so dangerous these days. And he said, but what are the odds of you being murderers? And I said, what are the odds of us all being murderers? You know, wink, wink. And he kind of looked over with this look that, okay, I shouldn't make jokes. No one here is a serial killer.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you know, two very tall people. I mean, that would be like a good profession for you to be a murderer. If you're really small, I don't think you could really overpower anybody.
And you think that this is why I always say, like, we're not going to get robbed. Like, we're bigger, especially a lot of the countries we've been to. Like, we were actually someone in Colombia robbed Berian with a screwdriver once, and he gave him like a few coins. It wasn't violent, but this guy's like, you know, like a 4 foot tall man. Like, I think you could get away. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very funny. All right. So, so I like the whole like story about how you're doing this, because I think I just see this happening more and more, especially for younger people. Like, I think they think that the companies need them more than they need the companies. Like, you know, just go out and get another job or, you know, build what I've heard the term portfolio career, where you just have different things and you just got side gigs and they become regular things. What do you find is the hardest part about being on the road? Is it certain countries or, you know, traveling? Because I know the passport system, everything's a little different than it used to be. It's a little bit tighter than it was. Is it difficult to go to certain countries or?
I actually think it's easier than ever to travel, but it's decision fatigue. That's the hardest thing about being on the road. Like the first month, you think it's so exciting. You're like, wow, a new foreign grocery store, different language. You're like Duolingo, practicing your new language. And it feels so exciting. But after 6 months, you are frustrated whenever you can't find that you buy the wrong butter. Like the number of things that you buy. Yeah, different culture. You get it home. Like I forget where we were. We were in some country and the butter had sugar in it.
What?
And we're like making scrambled eggs. And it's like, you're like,
more than just sweet butter. It had like, it was literally.
It was sweetened.
Like made for like drinks and sweet things, not for like, interesting.
I don't know what it was made for, but it was
for, right?
Disgusting. I mean, it's just. That was actually Mexico. And I know if someone is listening who is Mexican, they would say, well, you don't but that butter smelled like sugar. And if you like tasted it, it was sweet. We bought the wrong thing, clearly.
Right.
But, you know, it's just not funny after a while. You think, I just want to know what I'm getting. Or how many times you just are offered something or asked a question and you just say yes because you don't understand and you want to be appeasing. And then you get the wrong food or you end up on the wrong bus. Or one time on a bus ride in Peru, a woman asked Berian a question that he didn't understand and he panicked. He said, yeah, sure. And she turned around and handed him a goat.
A goat?
A goat. And then walked away. And he was just sitting there with
Will you take my goat? In some other language. He's like, sure.
He was, and then sometimes even if you know, like Berian speaks Spanish, but there's also a lot of dialects. We were in Mexico and he was really struggling to understand people. He was really frustrated.
Where is he from?
He's like, what is happening? He's from the Netherlands, so he speaks Dutch natively, but he also speaks English and then Spanish. And he studied, you know, it's Europe, French and German and everything else. But and here, a taxi driver said it's hard to get around here because people speak Quechua, which is the local, or wait, was it Quechua? It was the local dialect still, like the old
like the Aztecs.
And Or it was the Mayans. It was the Mayans. But yeah. And then you feel like, you just kind of feel like you can't get ahead because you can't. Because then in another month, you go to another country with a new language and you buy the wrong butter again.
Learning other languages, because what do they call that? A poly something? People that
polyglot.
Yeah, polyglot. People that speak multiple languages. I was just listening to a podcast about a woman. She speaks like 9 languages and she wants to learn one every 2 years. But you're probably not in one location long enough, are you, to learn the language? No.
Not really. That's not me. I don't like it. I get frustrated. I mean, in Europe, most people, it's the norm to be multilingual.
Right.
But no, I mean, I know like a lot of travel. I mean, I learned traveler's Spanish. If you're in Latin America, you need traveler's Spanish. You need to be able to order food and buy a bus ticket and ask where the bathroom is. And in Europe, it's a lot less of an issue because people everywhere are very comfortable. Sometimes, depending on how touristy the area is, they'll say like, bonjour, hello, and then you pick which language you're going to speak. Right. And people will say, oh, no one speaks English in France. And I mean, I studied French for 4 years, so I try to speak French. And they're like, please, no, don't
destroy our language.
Yeah, it's ugly.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, the basics. Please, thank you.
Yeah, no, of course.
Where is this thing?
It gets easier as you go along, and I guess not. All right, let's take a little commercial break. Hopefully the commercials will play. If they won't, I'll put them in later. And then maybe we come back and talk more about the book and, how to be a digital nomad and go through. Because I'll be honest with you, I haven't read it yet, the whole thing. But
That's
I've
fine.
gone through, I'm supporting you. So, So I want – but it's a very much of a how-to book. It really takes you through like, this, and this, and things about crime and all kinds of stuff. So I'll pull out the appendix. All right, so let's take a break, and then we'll come back.
Here's a word from our sponsors.
Looking to market and grow your business? Or perhaps you're just getting started and want to hit the ground running? Aweber is the best choice for online email marketing and automation of your business. From maintaining a subscriber list to drip campaigns and landing pages, Aweber gives you tools and integrations that make marketing easy and fun. As our partner and sponsor, we use all their tools to promote the podcast and market our law firm. Aweber, the best alternative for online marketing. For over 30 years, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has built a thriving community of forward-thinking CEOs and business owners who want to radically improve their companies. Through unique combinations of one-on-one business coaching, participation in monthly TAB board meetings with other non-competing owners, a suite of strategic tools, and customized strategic planning workshops, TAB membership can deliver greater strength to your business and a better work-life balance for you and your family. All packaged in a streamlined and affordable service that the people at TAB invite you to try risk-free. Are you struggling with managing advertising due to a lack of time or expertise? Perhaps you're facing challenges in scaling ads for your store. Are you feeling lost when strategies have no success? GSM Growth Agency is your reliable partner in overcoming these business challenges. Feel the impact of collaborating with a team dedicated not only to short-term goals, but also to building long-term partnerships and achieving sustained success. Embark on an exciting journey to redefine the possibilities of e-commerce and create a legacy of unparalleled excellence. Take decisive action now. Follow their link in the show notes to receive a complimentary audit of your Shopify store conducted by a GSM expert. Propel your e-commerce game to new heights with GSM Growth Agency.
Follow the link in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show.
All right, so let's talk about the book and, how to do this. Take us through it.
Oh, yeah. Where to start? Gosh, sorry. I'm like, what's chapter 1 about?
I had it up.
No. Actually, chapter 1 of the book is, so you want to be a digital nomad. It's like, let's talk about it. Because a lot of people have this daydream of them on the beach. And I ask people to explore that daydream. Like, what do you see happening? Because a lot of people are not actually picturing the digital nomad lifestyle. They're just picturing living on vacation. Yeah. If you're not picturing work half the time, then we're not having the same conversation. You're thinking about extensive travel, just vacation, not work, because you're working half the time. You're going to work as much as you work now.
Right. When you go on vacation, it's usually you want to unplug and whatever. And you go 2 weeks out and you're like, oh my God, I got to get back to work. Like, this is ridiculous.
but you're not going with that in mind. So
no, you're just looking for contrast more than anything. I think that's what people are like. I think that's kind of the thing that most people need to satisfy is contrast. I feel like I'm doing the same thing. Well, then you need to have a very stimulating experience that takes you away from the norm.
Yeah.
And that's where I invite people. If you want to talk about where to go, think about contrast. If you're living in New York City, don't go to London. Go to Bali. Go anywhere else. Avoid, think about contrast in what surrounding area looks like. Like, is it urban, rural, climates, also like level of stimulation. If you're feeling really bored, I encourage people to go somewhere where you don't speak the language. Take a language class, feel challenged, engaged with where you are. If you're feeling like life's tiring and you need a break, then go somewhere easy. Go somewhere where you speak the language, where things are easier to get around. There's like tourist and transit infrastructure. The contrast is what most people are looking for.
Well, how do you get that information? If you're like starting to do that research, you just go online and start reading blogs and joining Facebook groups?
Yeah, I would say look at where a lot of people have like a continent or region that they're very interested in. A lot of people have this dream of traveling Europe. Well, so look at Europe. What are you looking for? Are you looking for somewhere warm and like nature, steeped in nature? Well, then start Googling for those things in Europe, region. Or if you're totally open to anywhere in the world, then I would start looking at like digital nomad places in Asia, Europe, Africa, and then look at the highlights and see what calls to you most.
Interesting. We'll set up a Pinterest board for each of the locations you want to go to.
Yeah. Save it all.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we were talking before, if I'm not a digital marketing person, right? I don't know marketing. I'm not really a writer. What other things I really don't want to, I have no patience to sit with children and teach them English. I'm probably not even good at English myself. What other options are there to, make money on the road? We're not talking getting rich. We're just talking paying our bills and eating and things like that.
Honestly, there's a lot of weird jobs. I don't need to tell anyone who's an entrepreneur that you can make money any weird number of ways.
Well, I guess you could do e-commerce, right? You could sell things online and whatever.
But, yeah. You could be a virtual friend. I'm not saying that works. It's where you are paid to talk to people online. There are people who are paid to be virtual friends. I love using the example of Jen Glantz. She doesn't fit the digital nomad. It's not a remote business, but she is the bridesmaid for hire. She saw that some people had issues whenever bridesmaids dropped out or whatever, something happened. So she is a bridesmaid for hire. She will put on a wig and come tell a fake story about how you're friends from summer camp whenever you were kids. Right. And she's been all over. She has a book. It's a fascinating business model. Crazy. You can sell anything that's a good enough idea.
Yeah, I guess if you're passionate enough. I think that's one of the problems that people are just not passionate. They're just wandering through life and doing what they're doing, and that's fine. And then this whole thing's very intimidating to them.
It is intimidating. It's a lot of questions, and you don't have the answers. It's like, well, do you want us, go to, the town A, city A or city B? And you think, I don't know. I've never heard of either one of them. How am I supposed to decide which one I want to go to? And you'll never have all the information ever. Once you go abroad, and you can do this domestically, you can do this in the U.S. Right. We can talk about that, how to get started if you want to stay a little more local. But yeah, you'll never have all the information once you're abroad either. We just did this. We went to the grocery store and here it was closed because it's a national holiday in Croatia that we didn't know about. You think, well, that's nice. We have no food.
What, today?
It was a few days ago. There was a national holiday and we had no idea.
Christmas.
No, it was just something else. It was it was something else, and you get burned all the time by this abroad. We had it too once we got in a cab to go to the airport in Peru, in Lima, and the cab got on the highway and just stopped and put in a park. And we're like, what's happening? And he turned around and he said, El Papa Francisco, Pope Francis was in town that day. The one day in 50 years that Pope Francis comes to Lima, and the whole thing, they shut the city. They barricaded off the highway for his bubble car to drive through. And we just sat there and you think everybody knew about this. Everyone, there's been people, and then we're playing the reels back of the memory. And it's there were flyers, it was on the news. No, you never have all the info, and it's going to be expensive sometimes, the mistakes that you make.
Right.
And you have to be okay with that. I think entrepreneurs can learn to be okay with that because entrepreneurs have already figured something out that's hard. And even if it wasn't perfect, you got through and you did it. And I think that it's a copy paste, that same attitude to travel.
Right. I mean, you get better at it, obviously, as you go. Now, what about like air traveling and stuff? Is it, because I find that every time we're going on a trip, the most expensive, especially now with Airbnb, like when my daughter's going to Florence for the semester, we're going to see her at the end of March. The most expensive thing was air travel. And I was like, telling my wife, we're not spending $2,500 a person. There's 4 of us plus my daughter. So she'll be over there and the 2 kids. Let's spend, the cost of our entire trip on airfare. So we started doing research. And if you go through certain cities and you do it this and that, we cut it like in half. But do you have like some sort of a, like a Metro Pass and you could just go and get on planes, or no, you're always like booking things online? And that seems like
always
very
booking.
Frustrating to me. Like,
you save a lot of money if you book at the airport. Fun fact, like a lot of that is online booking fees. So if you just, I don't know if they would welcome that in like Newark, but in smaller airports, like I'm from the Pittsburgh area, you can just go to the airport.
Just go to the counter like they used to do in the old days, 1970s. And
exactly.
you like book your thing.
Yep.
And there's no fee. So that saves you money?
That saves you money. You just have to kind of get creative with when you're going to travel. Like I've slept in airports, I don't know how many times, because the flight leaves at 4 a.m. and nobody wants to take that flight. Oh, I have a sleeping bag. I will sleep in the airport and take that flight. Or sometimes you arrive at 4 a.m. and a lot of cities aren't safe to leave, and there aren't rental car agencies open, and transit's not running. So you end up, so you end up
they don't
there.
like throw you out of the airport.
A very select airports do, like they close at night. You have to go to sleepinginAirports.net and see if you're allowed to sleep there, and then see where the nicest place. SleepinginAirports.net. So they will tell you the most comfortable places to sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
So you know all the tips and tricks. Now that's in the book too about sleeping in airports.
I actually don't know. My editor cut a few things out. He was like, people have more money than this.
Exactly.
But I mean, even having money, being able to pay for a hotel room, my roots are in like the budget travel side. So pretty frugal. Like we don't go out to eat traveling. You want to talk about ways to cut costs of travel? We don't really eat out ever. We cook all the time.
Yeah. And
most people, we eat out less than people who just live at home, normal life. Like we never go out. We go to a restaurant like once a year.
Right. Well, where are you at?
And that's a lifestyle choice. Yeah.
So you just go to the supermarket, you buy things all in Croatian, I would assume. And you cook and do. Yeah. I mean, look, if you're, you can't be going out to dinner all the time. I guess.
A lot of people do.
Okay. Well, they also have a room on that ship that travels around the world and you can just get on to different places. That's nice. But you wanted to see the world when you're 24. So,
Also, it's just normal. I don't think it's normal to eat out at a restaurant every night. To me, that I don't feel good whenever I eat out all the time. It feels very indulgent. So I know I'm happier. I'm a happier person if I have like autonomy over my like life basics. But in some countries, it's really cheap to eat out. So it actually is more frugal to just go and get street food and keep it cheap. Yeah. Eat the catch of the day, always cheap. You don't know what it is. I mean, it's fish. You never know what you're eating with, unless it's salmon. It's like fillet of fish, air quotes.
Yeah. Well, some of the countries I know, they bring the whole fish out, like to show you that it's fresh.
Yeah.
Some people do.
No.
Yeah. So do you find that does it make you feel good to be getting a deal, like figuring a way to get to a place? Yeah. Say it's like a rush, right?
You want to know the best rush is Airbnb. If you stay for a month, there's almost always a discount in a lot of countries. Not everywhere. Like the US doesn't really do month-long discounts, but in Europe, I've never seen a country that doesn't have a month-long discount. So this Airbnb is normally $3,000 a month, but we booked for a month. It's only $1,000.
Wow. Yeah, because they know they're not going to book every night if they do it in piecemeal. So they want to rather have it full. But that's a huge discount. That's a great deal.
Huge. Yeah, we pay about $1,000 a month. That's our like benchmark for accommodation, which is less than my rent was in Chicago.
I'm sure. Kidding me? You can't get a place in New York for $1,000 a month. They don't even have places small enough to rent you for $1,000 a month. Yeah, you can't do that. So what does your husband do?
We run the business together.
He's a writer too.
So we both. Yeah, he was a high school English teacher when we met. He was not digital. He didn't have Wi-Fi at home. He didn't have Facebook. He was really not in the digital. Yeah. He was
but you
really,
said from the Netherlands.
It was like,
so how did you meet? When you were traveling?
We met. Yeah, we were both traveling. We met in Guatemala.
Oh, on the other side of the world. That's pretty funny. But you said but he was on vacation, obviously.
He was traveling for 6 months. So he would do the thing where he would save up money and then go away, like quit his job and go away for 6 months.
Quit his job.
And yeah.
Okay. I had to come back and find a new one.
But, yeah. For 6 months away. Yeah. Also, if you can stretch your money longer, you can stay away longer.
Right. Of course. No. I think, you're lucky you met him because, you could have met him on vacation. He's there for 10 days and he's like, I'm not doing this for my entire life. You need to love traveling together. Although I've met a lot of people who have met their partners abroad and it's quite funny. I knew someone else who, she met her husband on a beach in Honduras and he was on vacation and she was living there. And they've been married now for a while. And quite a lot of people who, one of them, but you have to be willing to be attached. At least one of you has to be willing to say, well, to leave it behind. Right. And I was already living out of my backpacks whenever we met. I was already nomadic. So it was easy for me to come because he had to go back to the Netherlands because he had an apartment that was being subletted. So he had to return. All the stuff was in there. But we never expected to stay. We did have a home base in the Netherlands for years, and we used that to travel Europe. So I've moved in and out of different iterations of traveling where we've done the house sitting thing, the attempted hiking thing that failed twice. The fully nomadic thing. That's what we're doing now. So I did that in 2017 and 18. And now we're there again without any home base. And it's nice now. It's nice to do it with more money because I was living out of hostels originally with in a bunk bed. But you were happy with that? I mean, hostels, you have to share a room with other people.
Yeah. You're literally like the bottom bunk. Yeah. I loved it. Yeah, I wanted to be anywhere. I was afraid that I was not going to experience life. So to me, to be on an island in the Caribbean, surrounded by people from all over the world, it was a dream come true. But you don't want to live out of, you don't want to sleep bottom bunk forever with someone drunk climbing up the ladder.
That's what would happen. Yeah. Well, but I guess if you experience what you experienced very young, you're like, I don't know when it's going to all end. So it definitely gave you a push to do it earlier. If not, it would have taken you a long time. Let's talk about I know it has nothing to do with business, but the whole thing, like I said, I think what it has to do with is what our life looks like in the next 10 to 20 years. What about your stuff? Like you say, you live out of a backpack. Those are all of your worldly possessions? Like you don't have a storage facility in some place where if a letter gets mailed because you died, it goes to some guy and he knows how to get to it or something like that, or no?
My mail goes to, in the Netherlands, my mail goes to my in-laws, Barry-Jan's parents. And in the US, my mail goes to my parents. So my mail is always read. Okay. And I have maybe 2 or 3 boxes of stuff in storage, 2 of them with my in-laws in the Netherlands and 1 with my parents in the US.
Okay.
But that's it.
Right? So
I used to have more. Whenever I first started, I had a storage facility. I got a storage unit and I thought I couldn't rip the whole Band-Aid off and get rid of everything. So I drastically downsized my stuff, put it in storage. And then at one point I moved it out of the storage unit in Chicago into my parents' basement in Pennsylvania. And it sat there for 5 years and I never used any of it.
Well,
so I got rid of
this everything. Isn't working for me. I don't want to do this. And you go back and then all your stuff you have no stuff. So it's
I wanted a few things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't even see myself living in the US again. So I didn't need that security blanket. And then we thought, well, what if we live in North America and we want to drive it? And it was holding on to a sense of control, a false sense of control.
Right, of course.
That none of us have. Right. Yeah. So for me, it was very therapeutic to get rid of all of it.
So you don't travel you don't travel in the United States? Like you're not going to get an Airbnb in Montana and live there for a month and then go to Nashville and then go to another country? Or you're basically staying outside of the borders of the U.S.?
I like traveling in the US a lot. I've seen most of the states, like 44 states, I think. I really, really like traveling in the US, but it's to me whenever, it doesn't have the same appeal right now for me in life because it's expensive to me. Like going to the grocery store because rent, we always spend the same amount on accommodation. Right. It's always about $1,000, but the grocery store bill can be we can live off of $8 a day, depending where we're at for both of us. Or in the US, it's like $8 for a thing of peppers at the grocery store. So to me, that's where it's not fun anymore to pay that much money. There are a lot of countries that are really spectacular to travel in, but I know I can't enjoy it if I'm paying. Like I remember getting a cappuccino in Paris once. We had 2 cappuccinos and it was like $17. And I felt like, I don't care how this coffee could have gold sprinkled on top of it. I'm not enjoying it.
Right. Yeah.
No. So that's where the US is at for me right now. Yeah. Unless we have like a van or something like it, because we, to cut that expense and not have
like live in an
accommodation.
RV.
Exactly. Yeah. We've looked. Yeah. It's a dream for sure. It'll happen. It's just not right now, especially whenever there's so many cheaper places that are still on the list.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, I guess you're not going to that place. What is it? Starbucks Reserve? I think they have one in Chicago. It's this super one in New York. It's ridiculous. Probably $16 for one cappuccino.
So yeah, it's in Seattle as well. Yeah.
Right, Seattle too. Yeah, exactly. No, that's not going to fit your budget. But that's interesting. Yeah. So I think that people should get the book. Book will be available where? On Amazon?
It's available at the normal places online. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Targets. I don't have info yet on where it's going to be on the shelves. But if you can support...
This should be like January 26th, I think. So the book will be out hopefully the 30th. That's the target date, right?
Oh, it'll be out. Yeah, it's definitely coming out. My publisher is assured. Yeah. It comes out in the rest of the world actually on January 3rd. But in North America, the distributor is set back to the 30th. But it's coming out on the 30th.
Okay, very good. Okay, so... what's the best way for people to like follow you and learn about your life and world and,
If anyone wants to connect, they can find me online at writingfromnowhere.com. And I'm most active on LinkedIn if anybody wants to.
So we'll put your LinkedIn link and we'll put writing from, wait, I better get that. Hold on a second. Writingfromnowhere.com.
Yep.
Okay. From nowhere. Okay. Where? Can't spell. See, I shouldn't be teaching English to young children. I can't even spell the website. So, yeah, it's not good. All right. So, listen, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And I'm very confident that the closing credits will not play. So, we won't even bother with that. I'll edit them in later. And, let's stay in touch. I want to hear all the countries that you're in. I'll follow. If I go to the website and I sign up for your newsletter, I can hear about Where's Kayla?
No, I actually don't share that on there. I don't really update where I'm at online.
Yeah, no want people to follow you.
But I share most updates. Yeah, it feels a little weird sometimes. Yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy your time in Croatia.
Thanks so much for having me.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. It was so much fun, Mitch.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moskovich and made to order music. For information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhackerlaw.com.
The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Beinhacker and produced by Beinhacker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at beinhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.